Church of Aliens. Hope you're all doing well. Um, I want to talk about the recent articles that's been flying around regarding NASA using religious experts to predict how humans may react to aliens or ETs or other types of beings. I've seen this around on several sites. I wasn't sure if it was true or not, or it was some sort of clickbait type of thing, but I've seen it on Instagram quite a bit. I saw it shared by Jeremy Corbell. That's when I really clicked on it, because usually he shares credible sort of stories and videos. So I read the article, and it was really interesting, but I found one that I kind of liked it more, which is one published by The Hill about a week ago. So I thought I'd read it, since it's quite short, and then discuss it a bit further on. So here we go. 2,000 theologians participated in a program funded partially by NASA to research how humans may react to news that intelligent life exists on other planets, according to one religious scholar who says he was recruited. The Reverend Dr. Andrew Davison of the University of Cambridge told the Times UK in a recent interview that he was among 23 other theologians in a NASA-sponsored program at the Center of Theological Inquiry at the Princeton University from 2016 to 2017. So this was quite a few years ago. But I mean, it's pretty interesting that they wanted to work with 23 theologians. I'm assuming they'll be all from different religions, but he would be more from Christianity. So the article reads again. Davison said that he and his colleagues examined how each of the world's major religions would likely respond if they were made aware of the existence of aliens. That's a crazy idea. I mean, just to get theologians to discuss that. Goes on, his own work focused on the connection between astrobiology and the Christian theology. Very interesting. Will Storar, director of the CTI, said NASA wanted to see, quote, serious scholarship being published in books and journals, end quote. Addressing the profound wonder and mystery and implications of finding microbial life on other planets, the Times reported. In a statement posted to the University of Cambridge's Faculty of Divinity blog, Davison said his research mostly concentrated on the concept of Christology, or the study of who Jesus was as both human and divine being. Quote, the most significant question there is probably whether one would respond theologically to the prospect of lives elsewhere in terms of there having been many incarnations, or only the one theologians talk about in Jesus. He wrote at the time, I have also been thinking about the doctrine of creation, especially in terms of how it deals with themes of multiplicity and diversity. So that's quite an open perspective, I would say. Davison added in the blog post that his research hasn't been limited to religious texts, around which other research on the topic of extraterrestrial life has tended to center. Quote, in thinking theologically about life elsewhere in the universe, there has been a tendency to pick up mainly on passages from previous theological work where other life has been the topic of under discussion. I want to move beyond that and join the discussion to a much wider range of materials and perspectives, end quote. He goes on, perhaps the main discovery I would report on today is finding just how frequently theology and astrobiology has been a topic of popular writing for at least a century and a half, in a monthly magazine, for instance, he added. Davison's upcoming book, Astrobiology and the Christian Doctrine, set to be published in 2022, blah, 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 the Times reported. According to a portion of Davison's book obtained by the Times, a large number of people would turn to their religions, traditions for guidance if aliens were ever discovered. Now, this is something that Lou Elizondo mentioned. He said there was a question on the Theories of Everything podcast, where it was a famous somber comment asked one of the guys asked him if the world knew what he knew, how would they react? And he said it would be a somber moment, and a lot of people would leave the faith and return to it. So it's quite interesting that he saying here, quote, a large number of people would turn to religion's traditions for guidance. What type of guidance and for what? That's what I would ask. Because if, for example, like he's saying, there could be a multiplicity of, what is it? He says here, let me read it. I have also been thinking about the doctrine of creation, especially in terms of how it deals with themes of multiplicity and diversity. I'm not sure if he means here multiplicity of Jesus and diversity. I'm not sure, but that would be an interesting idea because there's no mention of what we would understand as alien or a civilization that's more advanced than ours. We would have to ask the question as Christians, has Christ died for them? Are their sins accounted for? Do they need to hear the gospel? There's so many questions from a Christian perspective, at least. But I'll keep going. There's another quote. Detection of alien life might come in a decade or only in future centuries or perhaps never at all. But if or where it does, it will be useful to have thought through the implications in advance, Davidson writes, end quote. NASA's astrobiology program provided partial funding through a grant to the CTI in 2015, with the agency-funded portion of the project concluding in 2017. A NASA spokesperson confirmed to Changing America, NASA was not directly involved in the selection of researchers for this study. Interesting. So I just wanted to share that with you guys, since that's what I mainly like to talk about on this podcast, alien life, paranormal, and Christianity, theology. So it was quite interesting, this article. It made me think, for example, if on a Sunday morning when I go to church, that if my pastor would start preparing a sermon or to give a talk about alien life, and what would that be? What would a change of perspective that would give to people? Because, for example, if it just keeps going on that there's more evidence of alien life or ET or whatever you want to call it, something that isn't really human out there and in this earth, doing things for over hundreds, if not longer, thousands of years. And Christians just can't keep their head in the sand and play ostrich. Eventually, pastors and theologians and preachers are going to have to talk about this. I mean, some of them, I think, would just hide and not want to talk, but I think even like this Reverend Davis, he's trying to prepare people for something like that, because if not, it would just be complete chaos. I think you're going to have some preliminary steps into discussing this with a church community, with the theological implications of it. And I think that's when Christianity, at least spirituality, would be more open to scientific ideas, especially with physics. But it'll be very interesting Sunday morning to hear a pastor preach on alien life and what would be a Christian response to it. I still think it would be more on the lines of angels and demons, but I think there'll have to be a lot of reinterpretation of passages, and I think it would still be on that line, because it doesn't really fit into the Christian sort of puzzle, if you say. But it's a cool article and cool news to hear that theologians are at least openly discussing this topic and the implications for humankind and for church communities and for any religion, really. So, I hope you enjoyed this short podcast, and let me know your thoughts, and please subscribe and share, and I'll see you on the next one.